Live from Town Square Towers at the heart of the Jersey Shore. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Get up, get out, do something. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Hey, welcome back. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. It is Wednesday. It is April 6th. It is 7:07 a.m. It is 26 degrees, heading up to 49 today. WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 News Talk Radio, streaming live on the Radio Pup app and WOBMAM.com. 732-505-1160 to join the conversation. And we are now joined by Dr. Douglas Gibbens, radiologist and chair of the Radiology Department at Community Medical Center. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's good to have you here this morning. I was saying to you before, I said, it's rare that we get a doctor to come into the studio in the morning. So I want to thank you in advance, or actually in arrears now, for that.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, cool. So why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself? What's your background? How'd you end up here in Toms River, et cetera?
Okay, sure. I'm a radiologist, obviously. I grew up in Colorado, went to the University of Colorado, met a young girl there who convinced me to come back east. But first I went to the University of Southern California School of Medicine, and then ended up where she eventually ended up in Boston to do my training in first of all, I did an internship in surgery and then radiology residency, and finished up at Harvard with a vascular interventional fellowship. But it's interesting because I really wanted to be a surgeon, and I was going to be a pediatric surgeon or an orthopedist. And unbeknownst to me, my best friend and my girlfriend at the time, who I think I've been married to like 30 or 40 years now, I'm kidding, they had a tough love sit down with me and said, no, do interventional radiology. It's more minimally invasive. The field of surgery is changing. It's very tough on a family. And thank God they did. I love it.
Was that like a malpractice conversation? Is that where that went, actually?
Could have been.
Yeah, okay. Because I always thought if I had been a doctor, and I'm only about 12 years of school away from that, by the way. So I always thought like dermatology seemed like the right thing to me.
Well, dermatology is an excellent choice. I mean, if you want the amalgam of a lot of fun, interesting patients and time off. You know?
But then I thought I'd have to play with people's feet, and there are a lot of things that were uncomfortable for that, and that's why I just dropped out of school and went into retail. So that's how you kind of ended up in radiology. So what? Talk to us a little bit about what is new and exciting. What kind of sets Community Medical Center apart, in your opinion, from a radiology standpoint?
Well, it's interesting, and we've have a tremendous radiology department community, and I think it's a commitment of the hospital. And then later on, when they joined Barnabas, and hopefully now when we join Robert Wood Johnson, to radiology. As you can understand, the big tertiary referral centers buy all the big machines, and when you're practicing your craft, you want the best possible technology. And I can honestly say that 20 years ago when I came here, community made that commitment. They put together a big angiography suite. And many community hospitals had not had that at that time. And I mainly did angiography, mainly do angioplasty stents to open blood vessels or to stop bleeding. And it was that commitment that lured us down here. And then it's also that commitment when we went on and bought a 3.0 Tesla MRI unit. I mean, there's very few community hospitals that have that now, and several other large pieces of equipment. As you know, the Grunin angio suite upstairs is a very, very expensive proposition, and more community hospitals are getting them. But it was that commitment on the part of the hospital that lured us to the Toms River.
Right. Okay. So you were in Colorado, right? Then California.
Correct.
And then you ended up back here. Yeah, and your wife is originally from the area?
Yeah, she's from New Jersey. She grew up in Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Okay, but that's North Jersey.
Yeah, it's not really.
Yeah, I mean
it's not the shore.
So you ended up at the Jersey Shore. So okay, well, there's a lot of questions, but I'll have to ask those in the break because anyway. I mean Southern California. All right, so tell me about. I'm looking at some of the procedures, and I'm not going to lie to you. I have no clue what 99% of these are. What is computerized tomography?
So that's basically CT scan, and that's the backbone of our department. Most body parts can be imaged with CT. Some of the busiest that's the busiest modality out of the ER. So if you come in with a headache or you have a belly pain, you might have appendicitis. We do a CAT scan. It's basically X-rays.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right, so now I get it. So that's just that's a I got it. Okay. So I see diagnostic radiography and fluoroscopy.
Okay.
Now, right away, I'm thinking like that's going to whiten my teeth, but you're going to tell me it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, unless you bring those whitening strips with you.
Okay.
But basically, that's just a plain film of if you hurt your wrist, we're
Right.
going to actually shoot X-rays through it, catch them on a plate behind it. That's an X-ray. And fluoroscopy is live X-ray, so we can actually turn on, put you through on a table and take a look at things, inject a little X-ray dye into your liver, kidneys, or wherever we're working, and see what's going on with those ducts, with those blood vessels, and then again put a balloon in there, open them up, stop the bleeding if we find it. It's a nice way to avoid surgery.
Okay. And I see nuclear imaging. Now, I know Oyster Creek is closing in a couple of years. Is that going to impact the nuclear imaging department?
No, it's a whole different it's a whole different radio tracer. So nuclear imaging, we take some type of radiation, hook it onto some molecule like an iodine, inject it into the body, and that's going to go to the place in your body that traps iodine, which is your thyroid. And then that way we can image the thyroid. But there's other radio tracers. The beauty of that field is that you can actually take this radio nuclide, put it on different molecules, and then maybe even pop a chemotherapeutic agent onto it and have it travel through the body and only get collected where it's supposed to be and treat the patient. And that's kind of the hallmark of what we're looking at the end of the AIDS era. It looks
Right.
like we're going to have a cure for AIDS in the next couple of years. And not necessarily nuclear medicine, but it's that technology that has really changed medicine.
Wow. Okay. So let's see. Interventional procedures, lung cancer screenings, peripheral lung biopsies. What's an ablation?
Okay, so ablation is basically we take a probe, which is basically a needle that has these little, almost like fish hooks that come out of it. Using CT scan or ultrasound, we place it in the middle of that lesion, and then we basically cook it with radiofrequency or cryoablation, meaning freeze it. So you can actually put that in there, predict based on the size of the device we use, how big an area we're going to literally kill. And we can actually kill tumors in livers, lungs, things like that. So instead of big surgery in the past where we open you up and take part of your liver out and the morbidity and mortality is very high, we can actually get in and cook a couple of those lesions, and get rid of them and even potentially cure people.
Wow. Okay. So when we come back, we know that last week we just officially announced the merger of Robert Wood Johnson and the Barnabas Healthcare System. So I would love to be able to talk to you about how you kind of feel that impacts what you do day to day. I'm sure it'll have positive implications. I'd also like to kind of understand a little bit more about radiology specialization, and how radiology has changed over the years and where you kind of see it going next. So if that's okay with you.
Great. Yeah,
Great.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Douglas Gibbens, in case you haven't gotten this, by the way, he's really smart. And I'm like, my head is spinning. So I'm going to take a little time now just to kind of gather myself and figure out where I am even. But Dr. Douglas Gibbens, he is the chair of the Radiology Department, Community Medical Center. Back after this.
Everything you need to know about the Jersey Shore. This is Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Now, back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 and WOBMAM.com.
Welcome back. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. We are here with Dr. Douglas Gibbens. He is the chair of the Radiology Department of Community Medical Center. And in case you missed it, Barnabas Healthcare, so the Barnabas system, last week officially was cleared to merge with Robert Wood Johnson. So now it is Robert Wood Johnson, Barnabas, or
Exactly.
Robert Wood Johnson, Barnabas. Which is a little bit funny only because Barnabas is like 3 times the size of Robert Wood Johnson. But that's a whole separate issue. So doctor, how is that gonna impact what you do, day to day?
Well, I think it's going to have a tremendous impact both on the hospital, the community, and certainly what we do on a day-to-day basis. Anytime you can get a large tertiary referral center that has a great reputation medically and unite with them, I think it's good on the physician side, on the medical side. Certainly, I think Barnabas is in charge. I think running the numbers and day-to-day business side. But we think it's a tremendous plus. There's also that whole thing. Economies of scale. When you get large enough, then you can actually do a lot of things that a lot of other small hospitals can't do. So we see it as a very positive thing. I know the radiologists there. I think someday there'll be some type of amalgam between us. It makes all the sense in the world.
Right. And you have the teaching component, and I think we're going to see a much stronger partnership with Rutgers University going forward. So now you have kind of the research angle. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. And again, I think we've talked about it on this show before, but the bigger the system is, right, the more resources there are to pull from. And so no matter, I don't know if we used to watch Dr. House, right,
sure.
on Fox, that show. So no matter what crazy, out of the ordinary thing you have going on with your body, in a large system like Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas, the law of averages says there's a doctor somewhere across the system that's dealt with it, and will be able to to give the right A diagnosis and then B treatments.
To tap that resource is very important. Like you said, you have a crazy case or a cluster of crazy cases, you can reach into East Brunswick and get some help. But I forgot to mention the research part of it. Tremendous, because we have a tremendous patient population down here, and to be able to take Alzheimer's drugs or whatever and to apply it to this area and really take some of the data that we have and all the outcomes we have and change medicine, it's really important. We did that about 15 years ago in our radiology department. Urokinase was a clot buster that actually left the market. It was the only one that was approved for the periphery.
Right.
It left the market because there was issues with how they manufacture it. And at Community Medical Center, we put together the first 10 cases of another thrombolytic drug because there was no other thing. And it became a large national paper, and so we published that. But it was very tough because we didn't have the resources that a big conglomerate institution has. Plus, we're not a dedicated research hospital right now.
Right. And you yourself have published over 30 peer-reviewed articles, abstracts, and book chapters.
Yes.
And have participated in many FDA research trials. So that is something that's important to you, and something that that you feel very strongly about, obviously, about sharing the knowledge, which is really what medicine should be all about, right?
Absolutely. I find that very interesting, and it makes sense when you come across something that maybe you say, it makes sense to put together that patient population and publish it for everybody else. Right.
So there's a lot of specialization within radiology as well. So I know that like Dr. Jorge Pardes specializes in mammography. You have other specialties. What are the other specialties within radiology?
Yeah, so we have MR specialists, we have neuro specialists, we have vascular interventional specialists, and then nuclear medicine is a separate specialty, and then we have specialty boards in pediatric radiology. So it's like surgery was 30 years ago. Back in the day, the general practitioner surgeon would actually take out your appendix and then also deliver a baby.
Right.
That is, now the OBGYNs take care of that. You have abdominal surgeons and neurosurgeons, and we're getting to that point now. We this field is growing tremendously, but those are our different subspecialties. And Jorge Pardes dedicates his life to just breast disease. So even though he's a general radiologist and he used to read CT scans and MRIs, he now dedicates his practice to women's health and breast imaging.
Right. So you kind of you kind of touched on there how medicine has changed in general, right? How you used to have general practitioners who would do everything,
right?
And now that certainly is not the case anymore. So what I'd like to talk about when we get back after the break is, what we can expect next within your field. What are your thoughts there? How else has radiology changed over the years besides specialization and even during your career? And then we're going to give you your magic wand, because we ask everyone if they had a magic wand, they could make a change just by waving it. What would they do? So we'll give you some time to think about that, because we're up against the break. We are here with Dr. Douglas Gibbens, chair of the Radiology Department at Community Medical Center. Back with more Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin right after this.
Coming up next, the latest from WOBM News, the Town Square, New Jersey News Network, and Fox News Radio. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Live from the Jersey Shore to the world. Get up, get out, do something. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Take the show wherever you go. Download the free Radio Pup app for your smartphone or tablet. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Hey, welcome back. Wednesday, April 6th, 7:35, 26 degrees, heading up to 49. Actually, I'm hoping it's warmer because, I'm leaving in 25 minutes, and I would prefer it be warmer than 26 degrees. WOBM AM 1160 and 1310, News Talk Radio, streaming live on WOBMAM.com on the Radio Pup app, 732-505-1160 to join the conversation. Joined by Dr. Douglas Gibbens, chair of the Radiology Department at Community Medical Center. So we touched a little bit before the break on, how medicine in general has changed. How do you feel like radiology has changed over the years, especially, during your career?
Well, it changed dramatically. Back in the day, 30 years ago, if you were a radiologist, you did barium enemas and plain films. It's been the advent of CT scan, MRI, all these radionuclides, and the interventional programs that have just blasted the field wide open over the last 20, 30 years. And it continues to do so. So, for instance, when you have the CTE problem that you have with the football players,
right,
that's all about MRI and CT diagnosis and certainly postmortem. But now we're doing functional MRI to predict, how many, after a certain number of concussions, what the problem is going to be. So functional MRI, tremendous new thing. And every field is being blown open.
All that concussion work is it's made fantasy football a lot more difficult. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's very difficult when your starting quarterback is knocked out in the first quarter. And I'm just thinking, years ago they would have shaken the cobwebs off and they would have played. And then 3 weeks later, it'd be like, yeah, he had a concussion 3 weeks ago and doesn't remember his kid's name for the last few weeks, but he's still playing, doing great.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what do you think? Where do you think the field is going? What do you think we could expect to see next?
Well, actually, there's something we're doing in the radiology department. It's called Varun Therapy. So basically, if you have a mass in your lung, we need to biopsy that lung. We do a CT scan, numb up the skin, place a needle, and start heading toward that lesion. Taking an X-ray with a CT scan, and then adjusting it. What we have now is it's basically GPS, like you have for your phone. So you place some leads on the patient, and if you're instead of driving down the parkway and your cell phone pings a satellite, it actually pings these little plates, and it basically becomes a 3D virtual GPS system. So now you pull out of the CT scanner, we have this image, the patient can't move much, and now we can take that needle and go where we need to be to, number one, get tissue, and then number two, treat it. So there's less radiation, there's less complication rates, because you can imagine if we're adjusting the needle, we're going through past vital structures, and it's tremendous technology. And we've done more cases at community than anyone in the nation right now. So we're...
Why is that?
We have a fellow guy from Johns Hopkins, Michael D'Angelo, who kind of embraced that technology, and he became a student of it. We all liked it, and it's tremendous technology, and it's going to take off. It'll take off, but we got to publish a few papers, hopefully.
That is crazy. Well, listen, you got to get going. I mean, you're only got 30, so I mean, you got to do better. Not over 30, but we got to see over 40. I mean, that's when you start really entering the big leagues. I mean, I'm not trying to put any pressure on you or anything, but. That it really is. I mean, unbelievable what can be done now. It's almost like playing video games. Is a prerequisite of being able to be a successful doctor at this point, because there's a lot of work on monitors and with very small
devices, and
working their way around systems. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
All right, so. I'm going to give you the magic wand now. You can, I don't care. You can use a magic wand. You can use pixie dust, fairy dust. You can just shake your nose, whatever you want to do if you're like a Bewitched fan. But you can make an impact on something. You can change something, hopefully for the better by just saying the word. What is it you would do?
Well, I'd like to use it for my golf game, but that would be very selfish and I think foolhardy. But and this is a big wand to wave, but we need to fix the whole healthcare insurance system. You leave 35 million people uninsured. We need to insure them. That's really important. I'm not sure the Affordable Care Act is perfect for that, but if we could fix that system and get people into the system without bankrupting the country, and I know that's a big, tall order, I think that would be where I would try and use that.
So wait, are you saying you feel the burn, doctor?
Oh, I'm not saying I feel the burn. I'm not saying I
no,
feel the burn.
You don't want to socialize medicine.
Actually, so 2/3 of what he says I love.
Yeah, it's the other third that scares the bejesus out of you, though, right?
And socialized medicine in the proper way may work.
Of course.
So
well, that's what we talk about that all the time. Like socialism in general, in theory. Right. It sounds great. I mean, it sounds like everybody's just dancing through the streets, holding hands, working to support each other and just do the right things and just, this great society. But then the reality is that ego gets in the way and people get in the way, and it never really works out that way. But I do hear you. Listen, I say this, I've said this on the show many times, I am certainly not an Obamacare fan. I think the Affordable Care Act has been a nightmare. But what I do give credit for is the conversation had to start somewhere, right? We had to fix something. And sometimes it's better to do something than it is even the wrong thing than to do nothing. Because now at least you got a baseline to go make something happen. Yeah,
we have a national dialogue now. So even though I'm not a big fan of the Health Care Act either, there are a lot of problems with it. At least we are. I mean, you can't leave, again, 35 million people uninsured and expect that, we can dump that on our ERs and in different parts of the country and prosper. Doesn't make sense.
Cool. Dr. Gibbens, what if somebody wanted to learn more from you or kind of find out about or get in contact with you? Could they do that? I mean, is there a way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Give the hospital a call, 732-557-8000. And then call the radiology department. It's 5 digits, 13230.
Okay.
And they'll put you in contact with me. I will get back to you, and I can show you the department. We can go over what I'd be happy to help people, young people with their careers, whatever makes sense.
That's great. And you were saying to that point, you were saying in the break, we really need to do a better job of getting the community. Not the hospital, the community into the hospital when they're healthy and seeing what's happening and getting the hospital out to the community so that everybody can kind of understand all the great stuff that's happening, not only at community medical center, but also throughout healthcare, because as you've said in the last 40 minutes, a lot of exciting things happening in the world of healthcare.
Yeah, a lot of tremendous things.
All right, great. Dr. Gibbens, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciative. And, we'd love for you to come back again but not till you're over 40 published, if you could.
Jeremy, thank you for having me.
All right,
I appreciate being here.
Back with more Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin right after this.